I was just talking with my wife about this morning, like what generates happiness and how we misunderstand it. Is that, ego rises out of self, right? So when ego rises out of self, it becomes limited relative to the wholeness of yourself. Okay? So because it's limited, it feels lack. It's experiencing lack. But it wants to be whole. And so it desires wholeness. And what it does, where it makes its mistake, is that it goes out into the world looking for wholeness. Okay? And we spend our whole life looking for wholeness in relationships and education and wealth and all of that, substances. And sometimes it finds wholeness. It thinks it finds wholeness. So say you won the lottery. You put $1 in, you got $1,000 back, right? Mm-hmm. It put the dollar in to hope to find wholeness so that it could satisfy its desires and feel happy. Okay, that's right. What happens is when you win that money, its desire is fulfilled. And another way of saying that is it when you fulfill a desire, that means the ego has resided back into self. So from a holistic point of view, when you satisfy all your desires, that is the definition of self. When you have no more desires, that's called happiness. But what happens is that we mistake where the happiness came from. We thought that the happiness came from winning the money. But where the happiness truly came from is when the ego resided into self and you experienced yourself temporarily. Self is the only place where happiness resides. There's no such thing as a happy ego. The nature of ego is suffering. Right? So what does the ego do? Because it misdiagnosed where it thought the happiness came from, it goes back out and tries to win the lottery again, or goes out and tries to make more money, or whatever. Anything it's trying to do, goes on adventures.
Yeah.
But it's not, and winning the lottery and feeling happy, that's what's happening. We don't deny that. But what non-duality is saying is that what you're experiencing in winning the lottery, you can experience that permanently. Because what we're doing here is we're dissolving the ego back into self so that where permanent happiness abides. So instead of the ego running out in the world trying to find wholeness out in this world that's actually empty, when it turns itself back inward and dissolves into self, all you experience is happiness. You experience winning the lottery permanently. You win the lottery before you even buy your ticket. You win the lottery. You have the experience of winning the lottery even if you don't win the lottery.
Yeah.
So we misdiagnose where happiness comes from. Because we can't deny that when we get a new car or something like that, we feel a sense of happiness for a while. But we also can all agree that happiness tapers over time. It's only temporary. And then we're off again trying to find the next new car.
Yeah.
Right? So that's samsara. That's this weave of ups and downs of happiness and unhappiness. But what is happening in samsara, when you're happy, you're itself. When you're unhappy, you're an ego. So again, when you're out in the world grabbing things for happiness, yes, you do experience happiness, but it's not an ego happy. It's self. Does that?
Yeah.
That's why you're turning. When you turn to self, you're turning to win the biggest lottery ever, permanent. It's a permanent lottery win. Because that means that your ego is permanently dissolved into self.
Yeah.
So when you know the mechanism of happiness, that is true wisdom. Because you know that you can't be satisfied by anything in the world. True satisfaction is only experienced from within. Work can't generate happiness, right? That's another thing that you can be happy at work.
Yes.
But work isn't going to make you happy. So, just what we just talked about. That's
it's the same thing. Yes. Yeah.
Okay.
In a different. Yeah. It's basically the same. Yeah.
Yeah. So you're happy at work now. If you're happy at work, if you're happy wherever you go, that is experiencing self directly, permanently. Okay? So if you're content and whole and satisfied, regardless of what you're doing, then you are experiencing yourself. If you're experiencing yourself, then you are experiencing reality directly as it's manifesting. So that means that whatever is happening, you are in line with reality. See, an ego wants to jump in front of reality. Reality happens, and then the ego jumps in front of reality and says, I did reality.
So you go, yeah.
When the ego drops away, reality is just happening as reality. There's nobody there to do it anymore. There's nobody making the decisions anymore. If you are content and satisfied and you're going to work and not experiencing any agitation, then you're in line with reality. Yeah, you can tell when you're out of line with reality is when you experience agitation.